Welcome to Amazon Answers. I am Jared, and today, at the request of NJ, we are discussing the Mariko Tamaki Lords and Liars arc for Wonder Woman. Now, here's the interesting thing about this arc. So this introduces a few things, chief among them, the daughter of Maxwell Lord, of course, and as a new villain that I think is actually pretty Cameron. This man has a daughter since effing when? Since this. It was a new character, and this was when they try and have the mystery: is Maxwell Lord being like redeemed, if you will? Is he being like reformed? So I'll get the comic pulled up, but yeah, it was quite a mind f on my side, on my part, when this was happening, because I'm like, okay, wait a minute. He has a daughter. Wonder Woman 1984 synergy. That's right, NJ. That's right. Yeah, exactly. So let's do this. All right. So this is one of those runs again that I'm like, it's short, but it's not bad at all by any means necessary. I actually really like this. And it features absolute Superman artist Rafa Sandoval later on. So that'll be kind of interesting. So what we have here is that we're starting off, and by the beginning couple of issues are drawn by Mikhail Hanin, who's been like a Batman artist forever. And he is like look at this. The first time you see Wonder Woman, she's fighting a freaking T-Rex like it's Jurassic Park. Now that'd be kind of cool. Wonder Woman cameos in Jurassic Park. That'd be kind of cool. But the fun part about this is, yeah, so you get some bombastic action. It like retells a lot of Wonder Woman story, and I really, really, really dig like again the sort of, yeah, he draws a beautiful Wonder Woman. He certainly does, NJ. And we see the Maxwell Lord thing, and this is like, so here's the thing about this. This is when they were trying to make Maxwell Lord a Wonder Woman villain, yes, because of the movie, and I'm like, he's not, though. He's a Justice League. If you're going to use him as a villain, he's a Justice League villain. He's not really a Wonder Woman villain. The only reason why they try and make him a Wonder Woman villain is because she snapped his neck. That's why. So we see Diana moving into Washington, D.C., because of course she is, because of Wonder Woman 1984. Then we see and we see like Diana meets her neighbor, and the neighbor's going to be very, very important. And so we see Diana moves in, and she has all these statues in her apartment. So it's kind of funny. She basically moves in an entire Greek museum because it's like, it's Diana. So there you go. And Diana is like, goes and gets some furniture, and then she like takes off running to save this car that's being mind controlled. And this is the first like indicator that there's something interesting about like this occurrence. Chief among it is that these people seem to be acting out of character, if you will. Like a mom just like randomly like driving very like erratically, and the pink eye glowing is going to be very key to this. And what I love this image of Diana stopping like the truck, and like she has the car, she's like this, she's basically being Chris Pratt in Jurassic World. I love that. That's actually a really cool image. And then the mom, that was the person that was driving the car, was like, I don't remember. I didn't remember anything that happened. Lord, make people believe what they see. Yeah, exactly. And I definitely feel like, so she's like, I don't remember what I was doing or anything like that. So then we cut to a military base that's having again more of those it's a prison that's having another attack. It's a maximum security prison, and again, Wonder Woman has to drop in. And I love the use of red here. The colorist, who is, I'm going to pull up the colorist Jordi Belair. In other words, absolute Wonder Woman colorist. Of course, the use of red is perfect. My God. So Wonder Woman fights all the prisoners, and this is the prison that's holding Maxwell Lord. That's why when he says stop, they all stop. And Wonder Woman is like, so you're here to kill me? That depends on you. And I go, okay, I don't necessarily like Wonder Woman's like, it seems Wonder Woman's more likely to kill. And I go, I don't like that. It's no. I do love this cover though, with the Iron Giant robots walking toward Wonder Woman. And then we see again Maxwell Lord, and he's trying to convince Diana that he is reformed, that he kind of wants to like be different, if you will. It's kind of interesting. And then we see like Etta Candy, and she's basically, because of course with people acting very strangely and not remembering like what happened, of course Wonder Woman remembers when he did that to Superman. So she immediately thinks this is because of Maxwell Lord, because again, as far as she knows, he doesn't have a daughter yet. And then we see like a Diana's neighbor again, that's like being a very helpful neighbor, and like bunny sitting. And again, more occurrences. And again, this is what I really like about this arc. Tamaki knows how to like develop a like, what's the word, a mystery as time goes by. And I really dig how she does this. So then it's like, so you have construction workers that are starting to like destroy buildings, and Diana stops the wrecking ball and like saves the people. And then there's like a big fight with a giant robot, as we saw in the cover. And again, I just love the way the art is done. The art is colored. Everything just looks so good. And again, the use of red. Jordi Belair, I wonder if her favorite color is red, because she uses it a lot in her coloring, and it looks so good. I love he's giving glimpses of Diana's world. Well, first off, she. But yeah, I do agree with you on that. It's very cool seeing like Diana's civilian life, because we don't really see a lot of that, as like a lot of writers are too cowardly to do that. But it's like, because here's the problem, and Britt and I have talked about this on the show a lot. It's like a lot of writers have a surface level understanding of Diana. Chief among it, they seem to think she's like the warrior that doesn't have like a private life or anything like that, or it's impossible that they could have a private life. And I go, no, I'm sorry, that's not the way that this is supposed to work. It never ceases to like annoy me when like the superhero, when they think that just because she's like a warrior, that she can't have a private life outside of being Wonder Woman. It's really stupid. And that's why, and then we see like parademons and stuff. But this is also, it's also why, like, let's take the Greg Rucka run or any of those other runs. The reason why they are revered as well is because when you look at them, what they actually do is they explore a lot of who Diana is as Diana, not just as Wonder Woman, as in the case of when you look at like Rucka having Diana go through her like civilian life as like an ambassador. In Jimenez's run, it's her like helping out civilians or going on dates. If you take into account the George Perez run, it's her learning about man's world. Even John Byrne does this with her hanging out with Cassie Sandsmark. Even Gail Simone does this. But it's like, if you focus too much on who she is as a warrior, as if you neglect this, I'm sorry, you fail as a Wonder Woman writer. But again, I love the way Haneen draws like action scenes like this. He does this all the time when it comes to like his the Batman run he did with perpetual horrible writer Tom King. But again, I love the use of like this panel layout. It really does well with motion. And then Diana, like, it turns out that Diana was under the control of whatever is like controlling things, and we see like soldiers are killed. So it's, in other words, and they did this with like when Superman was under the control of Maxwell Lord during Sacrifice, where he would like attack like Darkseid, but it later turned out that's what he thought was happening, and he was under the control of Max Lord. He was actually fighting, let's say, Batman. And you see, it's like, and Tomasi says, this was the era where they forced her to have a sword in the shield. Thank God that's over. Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, let me put it this way: facing parademons, that's fine to have a sword in the shield. It's like what I always say. Wonder Woman's a warrior, yes, and as a warrior, she's trained to select the right tool for the job. In my mind, the sword and the shield should only come out for like a Darkseid/Doomsday level threat. Everything else, if it's particularly if you're fighting human-ish enemies, the lasso and gauntlet should be fine. And then we see like Wonder Woman is being like, and by the art has changed to Carlo Barberi, and I like it's very like anime inspired by like it looks a lot like Jorge Jimenez in terms of like the anime inspiration. And again, it's like Diana is like trying to like cope with the fact that she was just mind controlled. And you see, like, luckily no one was hurt, so they can't do the whole, oh, she was like murdered. She murdered US soldiers and stuff. And then over here we see like also multiple people complaining about like being mind controlled. And then you see like Maxwell Lord. Of course, she's gonna think about Maxwell Lord because like he's mind controlled. He goes, "This is your work," and he goes, "Yeah, I could do this, but here's the other thing. You notice how he has the power inhibitor collar on there as well." And then they bring up like because at the time this is the sequels to a Justice League story called Justice League. Hey, what's up, Parker? They had just done by Williamson. Hang on, a story arc entitled Justice League versus Suicide Squad, which was actually pretty solid and enjoyable. I really dug it. Where the Justice League and all the world superheroes were taken over by the character of Eclipso with the Eclipso Diamond, Maxwell Lord included, and the Justice League had to unite with the squad to stop it. So Max Lord was put in prison, and then he was put under the control of like Amanda Waller. I know he's not a villain, but I just can't help but love him as one. Yeah, exactly. This is beautiful artwork. Yeah, I love it. This is one of the little-known artists that has drawn Wonder Woman that I think should get more work because he was like fantastic. So it's like Amanda. We see like more. It's like Amanda Waller was like using him to like spy on people, and so what they discover is, again, she's like under the control. I mean, Maxwell Lord is using the lasso of truth to like convince her to like trust him. In other words, like she did when you had like the battle against Superman and Wonder Woman takes out a missile. Then it turns out Wonder Woman's neighbor with the rabbit is Maxwell Lord's daughter. Yeah, is Max? That's the thing. If you were, she was the one that was controlling and influencing people throughout the entire like occasion, if you will, throughout the entire first half, including Wonder Woman. So it's like this is where again they retcon that she had a daughter, and then we see like some Amazons in battle, and I love this Amazon armor. I think it looks really cool. And then you see like a lot. You see like Wonder Woman is saving someone from like a building fire. And then she's trying to figure out if like, is this Maxwell Lord because he has the collar on? So it's like, so it's like he can't control people if he doesn't have the collar. So it's like, this is the cool part about this arc. Wonder Woman is forced to team up with Maxwell Lord because she's out of her element with this. So she has to team up with him. And I really like how this like works out. We see like Maxwell Lord's daughter is like taking, and I love this portrayal of Wonder Woman's speed. I love when an artist, I don't like it as a designer, me neither. I'm really not a big fan of like her having the essentially a mohawk. It's not my thing. But I love this because I love when artists can, because I can imagine this in motion. And that's the cool part when you can make those after images look so like good that like you can imagine this moving as like an animated image, and it's like Wonder Woman is stopping someone where they gun and saving people. And for some reason the DC app has a lot of issues sometimes. I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can find where I was here. Here we go. A bullet is fired to kill Maxwell Lord because Max's daughter doesn't want him to live. She hates him. And then Wonder Woman essentially Maxwell Lord essentially tells the story. He says, "When the source wall fell, I saw everything. Every second of every minute broken. Time itself broke apart. I saw the multiverse rip through the center, reeled back like a scab to reveal the ugliest wound, all the conflict, my fight. I saw the path. I saw the results. My road to justice has once ended. I refuse to have my future dictated into the ground. I'm better than that." And then we see that, like, see, there she is, liar, liar. It's good to see Wonder Woman in action, at least. I know, right? So a liar, liar is the name for Maxwell Lord's daughter, which is why the arc itself is called Lords and Liars. So, and be sure to smash that like button on the stream. So we get like basically the story of Maxwell Lord, where so Max's daughter's name is Emma, and essentially the psychic powers happened, and essentially it's like it's like her mother was taken out. This would be an interesting villain, I would say. And again, NJ, I just hate that Etta Candy design. That looks so horrible. So then it's like she can control people like her father did. And it's like essentially I like this image of, again, Wonder Woman using the lasso of truth. You see, you don't need to constantly give her the sword and the shield. The lasso does enough that it's like, particularly against like human enemies, because you're not going to be able to do that. And it's like Wonder Woman fighting essentially humans while Lord tries to talk down his daughter. And the implication is that essentially that like she was lied to about her father. It's like she said, everyone said that like her father died of cancer, and obviously he didn't. And the interesting thing about this is that there's the implication that like she influenced the truck in order to kill like her mom or something like that. All these years I knew I was something else. I could feel it. Yeah, it's like, so she had this whole implication. She had this whole feeling that she was beyond being just like a regular daughter. And so essentially what happens is what Liar Liar did is she created an iPhone app that essentially, whenever people took selfies, are like implanted desuggestion for them to be like hypnotized, if you will, and like being able to be influenced. And it's like, if you see like Diana fighting like a giant creature, and then Diana tries to like talk down Liar Liar. And again, this is what I love about this. This is how you know a writer understands Diana. When you can talk to, when she can go through the whole journey and like, again, talk down someone effectively, because that's what Diana really is. That's her, like, for lack of a better term, competitive advantage among the other members of the Trinity, because she is the diplomat, as you guys know, because she like was she had the Amazon embassy and such. But what you see here is she is the one that I would argue more than Superman is capable of talking down the villain. So here's what Diana says: "Daughter of Max Lord, he has taken your voice from me. I hear no sound, but I see your pain. I don't know what world you came into, but I know this hurt. I too had a powerful father, a man who took everything he wanted and crushed those who stood in his way." This is when the Zeus origin is still canon. I know what it means to have the root of yours of you broken in two. You have something true becoming something deceitful. I know what it means to live with a lie in your heart. And then it's like, again, she's trying to talk down Emma, and overall it kind of works. And then this is where you see that Max's daughter shows him the image of Wonder Woman killing him. He goes, of course, not every kid gets to see what's in their dad's head, but I got a peek when the source wall fell. Maybe you want to pretend you didn't see it, but I know you did. Can't you see it? That's Wonder Woman snapping your stupid neck. So that's when the source wall fell, because remember, at this point, we're still in the new 52-ish timeline, which obviously the Maxwell Lord snapping didn't happen. But when the source wall fell at the end of Death of Dark Knight's Metal by Scott Snyder, you got like all of this like flashes of alternate timelines and such as post-crisis, when you had the what's the word? When you had, I'm just going to put the banner back up for some reason. Sometimes with StreamYard takes it away. When you had like the Maxwell Lord neck snap to save Superman. And then it's like Diana could like obviously punch out Max's daughter, but she chooses not to, obviously, because again, this is what people get wrong about Diana that Tamaki gets right. She's obviously this is what they mean when people say Diana is a warrior for peace. This isn't what Tom King's surface level understanding of the character thinks. What this means is she will always choose peace first. She will only use violence when absolutely necessary. Here at this moment, violence is not N-O-T necessary. She's just a kid, granted a powerful kid, but she's kind of like fainted and giving up. So they give her the restraints and they put her in Stryker's Island. And it's like, this is where Maxwell Lord and Wonder Woman are going to go on a little adventure together to track down hostiles. So they go to Miami, and yes, this Diana in Miami, Florida, and you get like he gets recognized as basically someone on The Bachelor, and essentially it's like he's influencing people like leave them alone and stuff. Diana also has a deep affection towards children. Yes, exactly. That's the thing. It's like Diana, that's, again, it's a good point, NJ. This is what you get if you have more than a surface level understanding of the character, which arguably, obviously the current run has a completely surface level understanding of the character. And he may say he knows comics, but he really doesn't. On that note, speaking of comics, I'm going to do a quick promo for Athena, the Goddess of Thunder. So let's do that.
My home has been invaded, my people slaughtered, and I could not do anything to stop it. Not again. I will not lose another home, another family. I am Princess Lyra of the planet Centragon, Athena, the Goddess of Thunder, and this is my story.
Thank you. But yeah, it's like that's what you have to understand. It's like anyone that thinks that like the warrior for peace is a contradiction doesn't understand the character at all. And I'm going to put in the link to back Athena, the Goddess of Thunder on Kickstarter, and then I'll even pin it to the chat so anyone coming in late can check that out. But anyway, it's like that's the thing about this character is that you actually have to have a little understanding. But here's the thing. When you look at like, here's the interesting thing about that statement, ladies and gents. When you deal with like Wonder Woman, it's like here's one of the many reasons why that's not a like contradiction as like people like Tom King like to think about it. Because when you look at it, let's look at like the statements by founding father of the United States, George Washington. He had said, in order to prepare for peace, you have to prepare for war. And isn't that interesting how that it turns out we're like, yeah, you have to be prepared for a fight, obviously. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to be like warlike, but you have to be prepared for the eventuality that violence may be like needed and necessary. But again, too many writers and creatives and the like do not understand the character enough to have that conversation, because otherwise they would clearly be able to see that that's the way that actual like diplomacy is and such. But it's like here's the reason why I don't hold that I don't like excuse that with King, because it's obvious that like when you look at it, it's like he has this devotion to U.S. history, but he doesn't know that. I'm like, come on, bro, you're supposed to understand this. This is supposed to be your thing. You're the one that's trying to make Diana so devoted to America, and yet you miss this vital point here. Interesting how that turns out, huh? It's very, very, very interesting. But yeah, so let's continue on. So then they're exploring the island, and the island's under attack by like water creatures, and I love the way this is designed. Oh my god, it looks terrifying, but also very cool. Then we see they're fighting essentially a cyborg like creature, and I love the way this is done, the way the coloring works so well. Everything else just works. It just works, to quote Todd Howard from what's the word from Fallout. It's essentially that it just works. So then we happen to check out more of the battle, and the battle is drawn so well. And actually, let me be sure I can credit the artist for this particular part of the run. This is drawn by Steve Pugh. I imagine that the name is Pugh, so I'll just go with that. So then what we see here is hang on, I'm just dealing with technical issues on my side. Okay, here we go. So then Wonder Woman fights a giant shark. Essentially, it's a megalodon. Oh my god, it's a megalodon. So then Diana goes like surfing essentially on the water, and then Maxwell Lord goes checking out. She doesn't necessarily know what to do about Max, because Wonder Woman she wants to believe that Max is capable of redemption, that he has like changed, but then again, you always have that sense of like suspicion with a character, and this is what I like about it, is you can have Diana struggling with like maybe forgiveness, and maybe like let's say in terms of like, can someone really like reform or be redeemed? That is how you do it properly, because again, this is how you do like, oh my gosh, you can have Diana struggle with her morals like this, because inevitably, she's going to look out for the best in someone, but she's not going to to say, no, he's not worthy of anything like that. No, sorry. I love this image I love seeing different artists portray the Invisible Jet in certain ways. And here's the thing, the Invisible Jet, when it's portrayed, you don't see like them just hovering over thin air. That's not the way the Invisible Jet works. Or at least that's not the way it should work. Okay. More issues with the DC streaming app. Okay. Some fans say Diana having a mindset of anyone can be redeemed as childish and a weakness. And I say it's a strength. Yeah, it is. Now, again, that doesn't mean Diana is going to let her guard down. All it means is she is going to start by looking out for the positives in someone first. Now, if someone presents themselves as a threat, as an irredeemable threat, that's another story with Diana, obviously. Did you know Kelly doesn't like the concept of the invisible jet? Oh, really? I did not know that. That's probably why the invisible jet hasn't been used in the absolute Wonder Woman. And it could be because it's like there is the question of why do you have the invisible jet if you can fly? But Diana's like, well, if I have cargo or passengers and stuff, which I'm not overtly against the invisible jet, but I can see why some people wouldn't dig it. And then Diana is like talking about her battle with Superman, and that's the funny thing about it. It's like they're doing like, is this canon, but is this not? And I'm like, because this was during the time when DC had just done. I think that this is. It looks like it's post Superman Reborn. So Superman has been. So the timelines have been remerged, but this was still the question going on as what's canon from post Crisis, what's canon from the new 52. So that's where like this comes from. So she's remembering fighting Superman, and I'm like, okay. And then they go to essentially think of this place like Madripoor from like Falcon the Winter Soldier and Marvel Comics, where all the criminals go. And I love Diana. She just shows up as like Wonder Woman. She doesn't go in any way like undercover. And then NJ says maybe she doesn't like in the absolute universe only. Yeah, it could be that. Could be that. And not everything from the mainline Wonder Woman has to be introduced into absolute Wonder Woman. Although I think you could make it work, but hey, if she doesn't think it could work in her universe, I'm not going to push it because her Wonder Woman is perfect. I'm not going to like say it because she doesn't include this, it's not good. I know there are some fans that do that. I don't. And Wonder Woman is like doing all the fighting while Maxwell Lord is like right there. Like he's like, I love where he's like, you can do it. He's cheering for her on the sidelines, and then Maxwell Lord is taken by someone that like you see that there is this like creature that tries to kill him, and he goes, yeah, I could take you out while you stand there. And then he goes, this is teamwork, Maxwell. I want you to stay where you like stay there. And he goes, are you the ones selling Lord's tech? Yeah, that's what they're doing. They found that like Maxwell Lord's company, their technology is being sold on the black market, so they have to go undercover in order to find it. And I love where she's interrogating him, and then it cuts, but then it says one effective but brief interrogation later. I love the way this is done. This is done so well. That's the thing. I like when writers can have a little bit of attitude and put in some, like, let's say, like, some, like, snarkiness in some of the, like, in simple things like the scene transitions. If you put that much thought into it, I'm like, okay, that works. And then we see Count Vertigo. I kind of like this design for Vertigo, but it's not really like something that I'm really that into. And then the invisible jet crashes, and Wonder Woman is like blinded. And that's the interesting thing. And then this is when she wraps her head in the lasso of truth. But this is also when she actually learned, even growing up, how to fight blind. And remember, if you guys remember the stream I did on the Greg Rucka Wonder Woman, she took out the entire Justice League while blindfolded, up until including Martian Manhunter and the Flash. So that's the thing about Diana, and this is why she is a fantastic warrior and one of the best warriors. Well, what caused that? I believe it was Count Vertigo. And again, the cool part about it is that like is that essentially what happens? Let me see. To have the power, yeah, I believe it was like she was blinded by like vertigo, or it's on the island. But what's really cool about this is, again, Diana can fight and take out people blindfolded. That's like the really dope thing. And then she has Maxwell Lord holding the lasso of truth so he can like lead her, in other words. And her vision is slowly coming back, and it turns out that she can like see like shadows and everything, as long as like she has the lasso. So what she does is she eventually like she has like hallucinations slightly. So what she does eventually is she wraps the lasso of truth around her head, so it's like so she can actually see most. And I gotta say, I like the image of Wonder Woman with the lasso of truth wrapped around her head. That's actually really cool. And I wish that would be like a costume in a game or something like that. And it's like, so she's literally using truth in order to see. That is the really cool part about this, and the really interesting, like, symbolic, like, nature of this part. She's seeing via truth. Excuse me. And so she takes out Vertigo, and then Max Lord finds out who is like who's selling his tech, and then we get a nice little cover. I'm seeing a lot of great Diana moments. Yeah, exactly. See, this is what a lot of writers don't understand. If you're trying to be the one that says, "Oh, look, Wonder Woman's awesome," then you just lost the plot, because we know Wonder Woman's awesome. Like, look at this. It's absolutely incredible. And then it's like, so this is Diana, drawn by Rafa Sandoval. Again, the artist for Absolute Superman. And I love his version of Diana, the way it's drawn. It is solid. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of the Absolute Universe, obviously. And Sandoval is like one of the best writers there. And we see that like Maxwell Lord is like, it's like Max's daughter is influencing Diana to like choke herself. This is probably the longest time I've been excited about reading a Wonder Woman comic. Yeah, definitely. It's called Lords and Liars, so check that out. And then definitely I want to bring up public service announcement. Support the Stephanie Williams 2 issues, because if those do pretty well, but the King Wonder Woman don't it still continues to be like a low seller, that will be another indicator to DC to change the artist, because a sudden change in the issue, a sudden sales change in the issues where it's not Tom King, followed by a distinct dip when King returns, that's a big lesson, because you can't, because that's beyond the, oh, it's the Absolute Universe. No, it's the actual Wonder Woman series selling well when it's a different writer, but not well when it's Tom King. That would be the biggest way to give a message to them. That's why I pre-ordered the issue. I may pre-order multiple covers as well to support it. But I love this concept. It's Wonder Woman is thinks she's being choked by Max's daughters, but it's like, no, it's actually like Wonder Woman's choking herself, but she's under the control of him. And Maxwell Lord is also revealing that he is bad. He goes, "We wasted so much time doing all this. We're talking about our complicated past. So much to unpack when dealing with the multiverse. You killed me, Diana. I thought it was something I needed to move past, to exit what seemed to be a task of fighting gods and losers. But you know what I've decided, what conclusion I've come to?" He basically says, "I thought my fight for justice was about good and evil, but it's not. It's about me, my justice. Now I have my opportunity." So he wants to have he has Diana stab herself through the chest with like her sword. And this is Maxwell Lord like doing this. He goes, this is Maxwell Lord like turning bad. And it's like, because it was like him trying to take revenge. But then Wonder Woman's like, you shouldn't have celebrated before you took like before you verified that justice had been done. And but it turns out, so what Diana had done to make Lord think she stabbed herself in the chest is she stabbed through the like armpit thing, and it scratched her arm. That's why he thought she was like she had stabbed through her chest and is bleeding, but it's like obviously it wasn't. Tis but a flesh wound. And Diana goes to fight Maxwell Lord. And I like how she throws the sword in the rocks. Yeah, it's actually kind of cool. That is so Diana. Diana is one of those characters where she is, again, she's super intelligent and able to like fight smart, if you will, because that's 100% what Diana would do. And then and then Max is trying to impersonate her. I mean, to like control her, but Diana's able to like resist. And then essentially, Wonder Woman punches out Maxwell Lord and puts him in power dampening collars. And then she has a conversation with Etta Candy about stuff. And then Maxwell Lord is actually stabbed and I believe killed by his own daughter. So thus ends Maxwell Lord, and then we get a cool like cover here. She could easily wield a Green Lantern ring. Well, she's wielded a Star Sapphire ring a few times. And if I think actually in this, I may even do like an Amazon Answers on that. So what you find out is Maxwell Lord wasn't like killed; he was just like injured. Yeah, that was Deathstroke exactly. And then you see like it turns out it's like a Lord was like it is like influenced and like attacked by like his daughter and such. So Wonder Woman goes to see the girl, and then we see Deathstroke fight going up against Etta Candy. Then we see he has like more of the God Killer like swords and stuff, and I go, yeah, I remember that. Tony Daniel, baby. That was that. He made some modifications of the God Killer, and God Killer was the Tony Daniel written and drawn issue like arc where Slade takes on a contract to kill like a god or a titan, but then he ends up releasing the titan. So he uses the God Killer to kill the titan Lapidus. And I did a stream with Paulie New 52 about that stuff. So Slade would get one shotted. No, he wouldn't, because his armor is like super enhanced and he's like a super soldier. So it's not necessarily like he would get one shotted. He would have an interesting fight, but it wouldn't be a one shot scenario. Plus, how do you know Diana's actually intending to fight him? She's prolonging the fight so she can like talk to him. That's the thing. And then Maxwell Lord is trying to track down Liar Liar. And a Liar is essentially like a sorceress. So she goes and we can kind of see like interesting like characters here. So then we see, and this arc is drawn by Steve. So it's back to Steve Pugh. And then Liar Liar like encounters again Wonder Woman. And she goes, I know what Max did to you. And she's trying to like reach Max. But the interesting thing is Liar Liar is now like hallucinating and seeing like, I think that's Queen Clea, as a matter of fact. And she goes, I see a knight with great power, great ability, who has battled nobly. And then she goes, I battled and lost. I failed. And when I failed, he tried to take the power from me. I felt him try. And then you both put me away again. And they tried to give me pills again so I wouldn't see, and essentially to suppress her powers. So I wouldn't be erased, because that's what he wanted. That's what you want. But I'm not going to let that happen. I'm stronger now, and you're in my world. So Diana essentially is battling Lord's daughter in this type of battle. And I like the way that this art is drawn. And I love the use of colors. Diana traditionally, in all of her books, has perfect colors, I think. And like the colorist seems to like glow like the bunny. And there is like tons of stuff in here. God, this stupid app. DC, fix your website. There was plenty of cool stuff in there. And so it turns out that like Maxwell Lord survived and stuff. And she goes, As long as he lives, I'm a failure. As long as he lives, I'll be trapped in his lives. I'm trapped now, can't you see? As long as he lives, I'm trapped and no one can help me. And then Diana goes, I can help you. I will help you. And then Diana says, Maxwell Lord was afraid of you, afraid of what you could be because of what he was, because of the choices he made, because of the destruction he wreaked on so many. He thought you could only do the same, but you have a choice. Again, this is Diana being the diplomat she always is meant to be. She goes, we can be born or of something dark or choose to fight for the light. And when I learned who my father was, I chose to be a child born of hope and dreams. And I fight for the same. I will help you. And then Emma goes, I don't believe you. And then she says, then I will have to prove it to you again and again. And then if he doesn't stop, this building is going to collapse on the both of us. But she convinces her to stop. And then Emma goes, what if I still want to kill him? What if that's always going to pull me back? And then Diana says, we find those things that are bigger than us. We find those things that left us up and we focus on them. And then Diana obviously promises to help her. And then she goes to the Amazon embassy and essentially she gets adopted into the Amazons and like educated so that way she can like and this is one of the best things the Amazons have a history of doing. It's like when Kara came back, but I love how true to her character she is at this moment. It's beautiful. Yeah, I know. Isn't that interesting? And that's the purpose of these streams, because Diana has so many great stories like this, but it doesn't get the amount of attention it deserves. So I'm like, I'll do it. But it's like, again, with this is what DC Comics has kind of done with the Amazons, which I like. They help women, like particularly women with powers, learn to control them and learn to be like heroes, essentially. They did the same thing with Kara, and now they're doing it with Max Lord's daughter, Emma. And I really, really, really dig this. And it's like Maxwell Lord is subtly influencing her, but it's like, it's like, and that's where the story ends. That's where the arc ends. Then we also have some great variant covers like of Jim Lee's Wonder Woman, Joshua Middleton Wonder Woman, which looks good. Again, Joshua Middleton. We see like the design cover for Liar Liar. This is my favorite cover right here with like the coloring. And then we have Joshua Middleton again. I want her back. I want her back too. I think she'd be a cool character, particularly for like a lot of arcs that DC likes to do with Wonder Woman. But that's like the Tamaki run. And because I believe Tamaki only had like an arc or something like that, or she was doing a villain arc, which I enjoy it for what it is. It's a nice self-contained story that goes throughout the entire thing. It explains the concept of Maxwell Lord having a daughter, and it effectively introduces a new villain and redeems them in the same story. So Jared, after reading the story, what can we learn from it? That this is how you redeem, this is how you introduce a new villain, make it compelling, tie it into to Wonder Woman's continuity, and that you don't have to constantly have Diana be like violent in order for the story to be compelling. Yes, you can have Wonder Woman like encounter, like, let's say, yeah, like you can have Diana like encounter like you can have Diana be like challenged and stuff and her morals challenged, but in reality, here's what, again, DC never gets right about Diana. She's not purely a warrior, and they keep trying to make her purely a warrior, and that just doesn't work. You cannot. That's not how Diana works. You can have her be a champion of peace like this, and guess what? This is what happens. This is how you essentially like. This is how you adhere to the principles of Diana, but be able to tell an interesting story with it, because you can have Diana decide, hey, I'm not going to resort purely to violence, but again, you can like You can't say I'm not going to avoid violence. And that's the cool thing about this book is like it further shows that like Diana is not the one to like jump into violence. She's the one to seek a peaceful solution afterwards. In fact, I would argue this book perfectly encapsulates again the principle that I have espoused forever about Diana, and it's the principle of balance. You need balance in order to properly write Wonder Woman, because Diana. It's the same thing with Clark, because you have to balance the warrior and the like diplomat, and it's like the minute you say that like she's a walking contradiction, you give up on that, and you should not give up on that. I feel like what I learned is truth, love, compassion, kindness is what I got from Diana's comic, and her being true to her character and ideas. Yes, exactly. And again, you can write a new story that adheres to her like principles as a character and that she acts in character, but you can challenge her like this. Not whatever the hell Tom King decided to do in his crap run. You can this is how you properly like you introduce a new character and make her like a major threat for Wonder Woman, but also allow her to redeem. You don't do the whole, oh, she's going to draw like to make him carve the word truth onto his chest, because I have no idea what Diana would actually do in this situation. That's not the way this works. It just isn't. Okay, so what other questions about this run do you have, or Wonder Woman in general? You guys can ask any questions about Wonder Woman. Any questions about Diana, her world, current events involving the character? What was one side character that stood out to you in this run? Honestly, Liar Liar, because her story is compelling and she's trying to like escape from the shadow of her father, and she's afraid that as long as Maxwell Lord lives, she will always be drawn toward evil, or like she'll never be able to escape. And that is like one of the most interesting motivations for a villain I think ever. And that's some really dope stuff with the character, and that's how you again introduce new elements, but do it in a way that it's like, okay, that is actually really, really cool. It's not that hard to introduce this new stuff, but do it well. But yeah, that's how you introduce a new character and make her like a Wonder Woman villain, but do it in a way that it's like, okay, I really like this. This is something that, you know what, I can support. What other questions do you guys have? You guys can ask any questions that you would want to know the answers to about Wonder Woman. It doesn't even have to be about this run. We can expand to general Wonder Woman questions. Was there a moment in the run that you didn't like? One critique. Okay. I would say one critique about it is the too hampering by continuity, but I understand kind of like where they go with that. It's because it's like I'm like, okay, we get it. It's based on that story. You have to actually it's heavily dependent upon your understanding and reading of Superman's sacrifice and all that stuff in order for you to get the actual impact of the story. And I feel like it should stand out on its own. Liar Liar as an Amazon who helps her with cool powers and awesome concept. Yeah, it is. And they really should explore that more. But then again, they could continue to not like really explore it properly. How do you feel about this Diana compared to King's version? Oh, this is easily the better version. Because again, she doesn't resort to violence. She attempts to talk down like violence the entire time. And she really, 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 in my mind, and the Tamaki version, like it understands the like devotion to like what's the word? How would I say this? Very easily understands like the whole like trying to come up with a good way to say this. It really understands like the sweetness of Diana and the way that Diana really like really understands that again, she's not going to for violence first, but she's also going to try to she's going to fight. She's not going to be like a pacifist, if you will. She would never do that. But however, it really like it really gives you the ability to like challenge the character, but do it in a way that but you do it in a way that it really like lines up pretty well with the way the character would act. And it proves again, this is the funny thing about King's Wonder Woman. Everything he has set out to do, like make people like Steve Trevor, convince people Wonder Woman's better, give Wonder Woman a kid. All of this has been done by other writers way better. And more importantly, she isn't nerfed. Yeah, exactly, MJ. I mean, she fights an entire army blindfolded. Literally blindfolded. So I'm like, Tamaki gets the subtle balance, because here's the thing about this. She could have easily like straight out of Warrior. Tamaki knows when to go full balls to the walls in terms of the Warrior side, but when to pull back on that a little bit and just go into and by I'm just glad there's no Steve in this one. This was during the time period when they were broken up, and you notice how Steve plays no role unless he's with Diana. It's almost like they're trying to tell you that Steve Trevor is actually a useless character that arguably should stay dead. But it's like, yeah, that's yeah. Oh yeah, Steve Trevor not on this is fantastic. But yeah, but that's the thing, because the way that Tamaki can go full on to violence, but then pull back on that on a moment's notice, to NJ's point about she's a diplomat first. She knows when to properly go full diplomat and when to go full like 300 warrior type. And that's a very, very fine line to like operate on. It takes a good writer to understand when to push and when to withdraw. Luckily, Tamaki clearly knows how to do that. And it's like, this is what, again, why whenever anyone says it's hard to write Diana, and I go, if you're saying it's hard to write Diana, that's just you admitting you don't have creative stories for the character. That's it. That's what it is. Because whenever he's not in Diana, her runs do so well. When it's just focused on Diana, or so I noticed. Yep, that is very true. Gail's Wonder Woman quote also shows that. Yes, exactly. And it's like, that's the point there. It's like the ability to get like that balance so well. It's something that you really, really, that it takes a bit for someone to actually get right. And again, I say this again, this is why I will never accept the Diana's hard to write excuse, because all that is like someone admitting they're not like creative enough to figure out a story. Because if they were creative enough to come up with a story for it, they wouldn't be saying, "Oh, it's too hard, it's too difficult, I'm not creative enough." Nah. If you're not creative enough to handle Wonder Woman, then when DC asks you if you want to write Wonder Woman, try actually saying no. Like King originally said, but apparently at the funeral for George Perez, he said he felt like George Perez was challenging him. And I go, bro, how about you actually, like, is George Perez in the room with us? Never thought I'd see a Green Arrow villain in Wonder Woman run. Yeah, I know, right? It's actually done pretty well. Does a run like this still give you some hope that a new... Yeah, absolutely. I still say that... So King has indicated again that the DCU workload is making him want to leave the Wonder Woman book. And I got news for you. I definitely believe that there will be a Wonder Woman renaissance where a lot of the stuff will be undone. That's just what happens with Tom King's Wonder Woman. And essentially what that leads to is like King stuff is always undone for the most part, always undone. Everything they can undo, they will undo. And even if Trinity is mentioned in history, this doesn't mean she's going to stay. So that's the first thing, number one. Number two is there are plenty of writers like Jeremy Adams that want to write Wonder Woman, or Kelly Thompson, that prove that there are great writers that understand Wonder Woman that would want to do this. And how dare him to disrespect. Yeah, exactly. Way to make George Perez's funeral all about you. I felt that he was challenging me. How about you not say that and just like keep the conversation? Because if you're talking about George Perez's funeral, the creator that everyone loves infinitely more than you, maybe you shouldn't be trying to put the funeral of a comic book legend. Stop trying to focus it purely on you. Like, I'm sorry, that's just the way it's like, that's just the way it's working out. But then again, that requires someone to be creative. And DC, for some reason, even though they have perfect examples of creatives that handle Diana well, they don't put their best creatives on there. Also, what villains from Wonder Woman would you like to see more of in a runs? Well, Grail number one, Liar Liar number two. I would say ignore Cheetah. She's overdone. In fact, I would actually kill off Cheetah. Let's see who else I think. Not Maxwell Lord, because he's not a Wonder Woman villain. I would say maybe put Ares back to being a villain. I'm sorry. Or here's a good one. Steve Trevor, make him the God of War. I would dig that for like him being a villain. That'd be so dramatic. I know. If it turns out that King leaves because of DCU, that will be the best thing for Wonder Woman that James Gunn has ever done. Isn't it kind of funny how giving him work leads to us like not dealing with one? It leads to him leaving Wonder Woman. That is absolutely incredible. Oh, Steve is the God of War would be perfect. Yeah, exactly. Gigantor and Cersei should be first to put their attention on. Yeah, exactly. Well, Cersei, I would say take a break from Cersei because she's getting a lot of attention because of Absolute. I would say you don't necessarily need to do that because then it seems, particularly if Kelly writes it, it seems too much like she's just trying to do Absolute here. So I would say no. for a villain. I mean, unless that was a joke. No, I'm serious. I'm serious that was like that was a serious thing. I saw it on Twitter of Steve Trevor being brought back as the God of War, and then he becomes a villain. That would actually be really cool. And you could actually do like a unique story idea. Which again, it's like, is DC really going to like to do that? Because that would be too creative of a story. It could. They very well could. They very well could, but who knows at this point? But what other questions do you guys have? I'll go for a little bit longer, and then I'll log off for the night. For today, is what I mean. Any questions you guys could possibly have here? Disagree with this man. Cersei is a must. Specifically, she hasn't had a cool arc in mainline, and Kelly can give you that. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, it's like I'm not against it. I would just say it's like there are other villains that you could include for like particularly if you're trying to also make sure you're not eeping off of absolute Wonder Woman. But I understand that. I wouldn't be like opposed to it, in other words. So I can definitely see that. Oh, that's actually too. Dang, who would have thought? Also, is Cersei one of Wonder Woman's great rivals, something like that? Yeah, kind of. It's like in terms of like, well, it's by actually true, Parker. For some, it's not like DC's doing that, but it's more of like I would like to actually like see it. But anyway, but it's more like, and yes, Cersei is like one of Wonder Woman's like big rival characters that they can do a pretty cool arc with her being the villain. And it's like I think Jimenez has done a great job with her being a villain. So it's like you definitely could. There's any number of things that you could do with that. But yeah, so any other questions you guys would like to know the answers to? I consider Cersei our arch nemesis. You could kind of consider that. I would. There's legitimate arguments for that I believe. So yeah, you could go with that. I could definitely see how you would think that. Yeah, but there are a lot of characters that I think would count as that really well. So I would definitely buy that. And Cersei is one of those characters that could actually that could work with that, and that could like qualify as Wonder Woman's like arch enemy. I want more stories with Giganta in the next one. She needs more arcs with Wonder Woman. Yeah, exactly. I think Giganta is a great villain that they could use and actually use her well, which is something that Tom King is incapable of doing. Yeah, but I also think that Cersei has to be like that Grail has to be like another an actual like used properly. I wish I got more questions, but I think that's all. It's all good, dude. It's all good, dude. But yeah, it's Grail is one of those villains that I think definitely needs more attention, and DC is like not going to. Is so far has either used her well or not very much not used her well. So who knows what they're going to do with that? But I think that's a good place to leave it. So this was a great stream. And then for Wonder Woman Wednesday, I'm going to be comparing Wonder Woman to Blonde Blazer from Dispatch and talking about like the similarities in the character and the fun thoughts on Dr. Psycho and Poison. I like them as characters. I think that there are some other villains I think could be used really well. And you can also add Dr. Cyber in there and maybe like Dr. Cyber. You can go the way you could probably use Dr. Cyber to redeem Silver Swan is you could like have it where like Dr. Cyber helps undo some of the like cybernetics. How are the sales books going for our Wonder Woman books? I mean, how are the sales going? So far, Wonder Woman okay, I'll let you pull it up. Like again, so for October sales, which are the last group of sales we actually had. Let me do this. October 2025 graphic novel sales. Summer 2025 comic store report. Where is this? Okay, top 200 October. So for Wonder Woman, Absolute Wonder Woman is number 6. Actually, you know what? Why don't I share so I can show you? Absolute Wonder Woman is number 6 in terms of sales, so that's excellent. So 6 is perfect. Again, right there in the top 10. So suck it. And then we get to Wonder Woman 26, 77. So it plummeted again. And I'm sorry, it's like with sales this not like steady. I'm sorry, it's not steady. It keeps going up and down, up and down. And by the way, if they say that like Wonder Woman 25 was popular because it's getting a second printing, what people don't understand about that is that DC has one printing, splits it in half, puts out half so that they can make you think the issue is more popular than it is. So that's not exactly a big thing that like, oh, 25 got another printing. That's a lie. So let's do next week's episodes as a poll. So we'll start with, we can do Wonder Woman animated movies. We can do that. That's an option we can do. We can do, I don't think we ever did a Wonder Woman animated movies thing. Let's see. What other Wonder Woman topic? What Wonder Woman topics do you guys want to see? Tell you what, I can even put the best Wonder Woman villains. I'll put that as an option. And then, so we've done all the trades that I have omnibuses for. Or we can do the Wonder Woman like Valhalla arc, which was the one directly after this, because this leads straight into the Clunrad run. And then last one that I think we'll do, last one as an option could be, let's go with Wonder Woman Conan. So there you go. The poll is live, ladies and gents. If you guys want to vote, go onto the YouTube and vote. So again, the options are, we can talk about Wonder Woman's animated movies. We can talk about the best Wonder Woman villains, where we basically just talk about Wonder Woman's rogues gallery. We can talk about the Valhalla arc of Wonder Woman, which covers like the first arc of Clunrad, where she comes back after death metal. Or we can discuss Wonder Woman Conan, that story by Gail Simone. In the meantime, while you guys vote, I'll go to this and we can like continue talking about this. If there's any other books that you guys would like to check the sales for, we can go ahead and check that. I should bring up that you plan on coming on Z in the future. Of course. Yeah, absolutely. all of the topics that I put on here will eventually be covered. It's just like this is more like what should we cover next week. By the way, so fun fact in terms of sales, when you go to the graphic novel sales, which I'm going to go to right now, if you go to the graphic novel sales for October, what's an interesting thing happens. Let me go to this. Look at what's in the third spot for October for the second month in a row. Absolute Wonder Woman Volume 1. My top 5 Wonder Woman villains are Cersei, Giganta, Grail, Cheetah, Dr. Psycho. Great list. Yeah, exactly. So if you want that to be the next week's episode, be sure to vote. There are 6 people watching on YouTube. If you guys want to have your thing heard, go ahead and vote in the poll. Otherwise, I'll just do a coin flip and then we'll go off of that. Let's see what you guys got. What other options we have? So far, it's a 3-way tie among Wonder Woman animated movies, best Wonder Woman villains, and the Valhalla arc. And then we have, okay, more people have voted for the Valhalla arc. So there you go. So far, Valhalla arc is winning with 50%. Wonder Woman animated movies is 25, and the best Wonder Woman villains is 25. Yeah, so I'll go off of this, and then the way I think I'll do this is so all these are guaranteed to get covered. I will the next couple of episodes will be these options in descending order. So we'll start, like, let's say Valhalla arc wins. Next week will be the Valhalla arc. And then the week after that will be, like, let's say best Wonder Woman villains. The week after that will be animated movies, just to make sure that all of these are covered in succession. So we'll see. So let's keep going. Let's okay, so it looks like we have achieved pretty much a majority with the Valhalla arc. So we'll end the poll here and go off of that. So again, next week we're going to cover the Valhalla arc, which is, again, the beginning of Clune and Conrad. And then the week after, we're going to do Wonder Woman animated movies. And then we need to support the hell out of Stephanie's issues. Yes, exactly. And I'll cover them on the show as well. But so next week's episode going to be, again, Valhalla arc, followed by Wonder Woman animated movies, followed by the best Wonder Woman villains. So that's what we will go with. All right. So again, as for Wonder Woman, as for our Comics and content this coming week, be sure to check out the Super Wonder episode that Britt and I did, where we compared Superman and Wonder Woman to Thor and Sif and Thor and Jane Foster. And then this coming Super Wonder episode is going to be comparing Superman and Wonder Woman to Doctor Strange and Clea. And in terms of like Under Two Capes, we have to figure out what we're covering. But let's see what else. I'll be on a bunch of shows to promote Athena, and obviously I'll keep you guys updated as we go. And then in terms of movie night, we're going to be covering Shazam, Fury of the Gods. We couldn't do it last week because Robert had a con, but we're doing it this week. But yeah, so that's where I'm going to leave it. Remember, Steve Trevor is Steve Never. He belongs in the bottom of a hydraulic press. So is the Maxibat for life. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.